so upset that we watch movies late at night and then we film because he gets all snuggled and
Like,
he knows
okay, we're going to sleep. We're going to sleep. And now
he's like, what are you doing?
what are you guys doing?
Why are
I
you
just want to go to sleep.
I just want to go to sleep. So he wants snuggles and sleep now. Hi, I'm Caitlin.
And I'm Charlie.
And welcome to Outsmarting the Shadows, where we help you survive horror movies.
That we do.
So we have been getting ready for Halloween for a few days now. And in the spirit of that, we are going through one of the greatest horror movie series that I think has ever been invented, which is The Conjuring.
Yeah, so far it's pretty good. We did the first Conjuring.
The first Conjuring. And some would say that then we do Conjuring 2. But I looked into it, and the second one in the actual storyline is The Nun. So we decided to watch The Nun, and that was the second one that actually happened in the continuity of the story.
Okay, so we're not watching the movies as they came out. We're
Right.
watching them in the continuity of how it should have gone.
How the universe unfolded itself.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because here at Outsmarting the Shadows, one of the things that we do is we analyze it from as though it's real. If we were in these situations, how would we survive? So it makes sense that we should follow the demons and the protagonists as though they were real people.
Okay.
So we literally just watched The Nun like a few minutes ago.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, we did.
And what a fantastic movie.
Yeah. It was a lot better than what I remember.
Yeah.
This movie does not disappoint.
Right.
You want to get scared? This movie delivers.
Yeah.
You want to see supernatural stuff? Right from the beginning.
Right.
Here it is, supernatural stuff.
Right.
And supernatural stuff comes at you. You know, every shot is like, yep, this is not a cheap scare. It's a scare, but it's not cheap because it's actually something that will murder you.
It is. Now, I did a bunch of research on The Nun because we'd watched it before. So I was like, I'm not really going to spoil it too much. And I found out some really cool stuff. So I want to talk about that before we dive into the movie and before we do our spoiler warning. So no spoilers yet. But this movie actually had like a $22 million budget and made over...
It's not nothing.
Oh, it's not nothing. That is a huge budget for a movie. It cost $5,000 an hour to rent the castle that they filmed in.
Who owned this castle?
Well,
I wish I owned the castle. Oh, you want to shoot in my castle? That'll be $5,000 an hour.
An hour, please.
A grody looking castle. It didn't look like it had any upkeep.
Well, there were two locations, two castles, and I forgot who owns them, or I think one of them was in France. But that's a lot of money to spend on location. They filmed it in, I think, like 36 days or something like that.
Okay.
Really short filming time. So they were really on it. And
at $5,000 an hour, I would,
you would
want
get
it to be like, listen, when you need to remember your lines, you need to do this quick.
It's so true. And the film earned something like over $230 million.
Oh, wow.
So sequels.
Yes, which there are.
Right.
Which isn't The Nun 2 released a while ago?
Yep. That's what we're watching next.
The Nun 2.
The Nun 2. So in this film, which we're just gonna dive right in. So let's do spoiler warnings right now.
Spoilers. If you haven't watched The Nun, I mean, if you're into horror, you should have watched it by now.
Right.
What was the year that it came out?
2018.
2018. So you've had a couple of years to watch it. But if you haven't, go watch it. Okay, you watched it. You're back with us.
You're back. I want to do something fun with when we do spoilers. We're gonna have to like have you guys do a do 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 do.
Okay.
I don't know. We'll incorporate that later. Maybe we won't because I like what we're doing.
Milo is really tired of us
so
watching horror films.
So upset that we watch movies late at night and then we film because he gets all snuggled and
Like,
he knows.
okay, we're going to sleep. We're going to sleep.
And
And now
he's like, "What are you doing?
What are you guys doing?
Why are
I
you
just
up?
want to go to sleep."
I just want to go to sleep." So he wants snuggles and sleep now. So now that we've done spoiler warnings, let's dive into this movie. Of course, because it's really good. All good movies seem to start really strong.
Right?
Really
Yeah,
strong.
they do. This one started with like two nuns going into a creepy hallway that is filled with hanging crucifixes, old
Right?
crucifixes. And first of all, okay, here's first tip out of the bat on how to survive this particular situation.
Yes.
If you're a nun,
Okay. You've
right?
made that choice.
You've made that choice, right? You've married to Christ. You don't have to go to no creepy hallways.
Right?
If you see a creepy hallway that is filled with
Crosses.
and,
Creepy crosses, by the way.
with no light,
Right?
so there's no lighting, why would you have to go through it? There's no. And then when you go through to the hallway, you end up in a door, and then the door says in Latin, "God ends here."
Right?
So after this point, there is no God. So I would say, you want to survive? Maybe don't open that door.
Right. Listen,
Don't go
your
through that
husband
door.
doesn't live on the other side of that door.
Right? No.
And you have vowed to be with him till the end.
Yeah, your husband already died and came back to life. He can walk on water. You don't need to go through this door.
Right? You can't do those things.
No.
You're a human being at this point. So, but it does seem like they're on a mission.
Mm-hmm.
And
they have this really cool key.
oh my God, the key is awesome. You know by now how much we love mechanical things in movies, specifically old cool keys.
Yeah, and this one was a really well-made key.
Beautifully
It didn't look
made.
like it was laser cut. It didn't look like somebody just made it last week. It looked like a really old key.
A really legit old key. And somebody did their research on this key because we've been doing research into locks and keys from ancient times recently, just in general. And I've discovered 18th century handmade, a lot of Italian chests had these very complex lock systems, and the keys looked just like that and would fit in them. The only thing I was disappointed about this is they took this key in and the lock itself disappointed later.
Yes, it's a little bit later, but the lock itself, maybe it's because it was covered in stone, but I think it was a fancy lock. You just didn't see it.
Maybe, but that, I mean, maybe they didn't have time, or the prop department was like,
Yeah,
no.
well, listen, we don't have the money for that.
It's just in a
There's
wall.
just a couple of blacksmiths today that can create a lock. Let's just have them create the key.
Right?
The key is fine.
The key is fine. So these two nuns, they're very determined. They're very young. They're very scared.
Mm-hmm.
They go into this door with this cool key. God doesn't live here. And immediately, like a demon,
Something just sucks a nun right in.
them in.
Well, the nun goes in, and then you see the other nun just standing at the door, because this nun, she is smart. She is like, I ain't going. That is
like, I
not
don't know.
my problem. I am not going in
Not
there.
my business.
It's not my business. So I am going to survive. So the other nun goes in, and the darkness swallows this nun, and then she hears the nun screaming, and then the nun kind of like jumps right at her, all bloody. So something just cut her, or just, I don't know, whipped her or something. She was all filled with blood, and then she tells the other nun, here's the key. You know what you have to do. You can't let whatever it is that's in here kind of like grab you.
Well, yes, but she tells the nun that lives says her name is Nun Victoria, I think.
Okay.
And she tells her, you know what you have to do.
Okay.
In order to survive, you know what you have to do. It's like God's will. And she's like, I don't know if I can. She's like, well, then God can't say.
Yeah, and then the darkness sucks her in. It's like,
sucks her in.
I'm like, okay. So when it sucks her, so at this point, when it sucks her in, she decides to run.
Yes. So she decides to run. Right after that, she goes into her bedroom chamber and she has this rope.
Right?
All set up.
Yeah. And she does the smart thing. She closes the door and locks it.
She does. And then you see that this evil nun has like blown open the door.
Yeah. And you don't know it's an evil nun, but then the door opens and you see a nun in the background just floating towards the door. It's like, oh, that's terrifying.
It is so terrifying. So the evil nun in this is legit. Like,
yes,
it is scary.
Now, survival tip. At this point, you're not going to survive. Okay? First of all, you decided to go to the creepy hallway.
Right.
Your nun companion got sucked into the dark and presumably is dead.
Is dead.
So
We never hear from her
You
again.
locked yourself in a room, and the room opens, and there is a decent this just a floating evil looking nun just walking towards you.
Yeah, a
So
demonic
here's
entity.
what you do.
Okay.
What is the golden rule? What is the golden rule?
Anger trumps
Anger trumps
fear.
fear 100% of the time.
100% of the
So
time.
you just can't be scared, and you get angry, and you wait until it's right there, and then you grab her by the neck. You go like, ha ha, she's not
And you
gonna
punch
expect
her in
that,
the face.
and you just suck her in the face, and
the
then you
face.
run, and that way she's not gonna expect that. Could you imagine? Oh, I'm gonna get, and then boom, socked in the face. No nun is gonna no creepy nun is gonna think this is what the person that she's trying to scare is gonna do.
You know what I've noticed so far? We haven't watched The Nun 2 yet.
Mm-hmm.
No one has punched the nun in the face.
Yeah, she has a pretty big nose to punch.
Yeah.
It's a punchable face.
It is a punchable
But
face.
nobody does it because everybody is afraid. All
Yeah.
you have to do is get angry because anger trumps fear.
Yeah. And it's so presumably she's killing herself because she would have been possessed or taken over.
Yes.
And she would have been able to, the spirit needs a body in order to leave the confines of this nunnery.
So then this nun, according to, the Christian faith, she's doing one of the ultimate sins, which is
killing yourself.
Suicide.
But you know what would have been an interesting thing to do?
Mm-hmm.
If she could have somehow killed herself, like maybe given herself a mortal wound that would have given her...
Like cut her jugular or something?
Yeah, I don't really...
But for what purpose?
So that she could still attack the nun.
But what if the nun has super natural powers, healing powers, and just heals her up? That's what demons do, don't they?
That's true, but how far into death or almost death could she heal? I don't know. That's an interesting point.
Yeah.
So maybe that's not a good solution. So she kills herself. She jumps out the window with a noose around her neck. She's not holding back. She's ready to die.
He puts a noose on her neck, and she just takes the leaps of faith.
She leaps out that window.
Yeah. And then the window closes, and you see the nun, the evil nun, slowly going into one. Right. Which is another thing I like about this movie. You don't really see the nun during the whole movie. They don't really focus on her face, just in a couple of scenes in the end.
Artistic lighting.
Yeah, they do artistic lighting. It's not all that dark, so you can actually see stuff.
Thank goodness.
Yeah.
Movies in the past, horror movies, they're too dark. Yeah. They're too physically dark, and we cannot see.
Or a couple of movies that we've seen before.
Last Voyage of the Demeter.
Or Demeter was too dark.
What was the other one?
The other one was Deliver Us.
Deliver Us was way too dark.
Yeah, it was pretty dark.
Yeah, but this one...
But this was pretty good. Pretty good lighting.
This one had really good lighting. I could see just enough, but I was still really creeped out. So then we fast forward to supposedly maybe the next day, and this guy is delivering food to the nunnery. And he goes and he finds...
Frenchie. His name is Frenchie.
His name is Frenchie.
Yeah.
Which feels racist since he's French.
He's French-Canadian.
Does that less racist?
I don't know, but he said it himself. I mean, he's like, my name is Frenchie. I guess the script writer was like, I don't know, he's a Frenchman. What do you call him? We call him Frenchie. Okay, that tracks, Frenchie.
I wonder if the writer was French-Canadian.
Yeah.
And was like, there's a difference.
There's a difference. If you're French-Canadian, you can be called Frenchie.
Maybe.
And it's set in Romania. All these movies, horror movies, are always set in Romania, Russia.
Right, Eastern Europe.
The Carpathian Forest, something like that. It's never, down in Mississippi.
Right. Well, I think there's probably more ancient ghosts in Europe than in the United States.
Okay. Yeah.
Just my theory.
It's older.
It tracks.
So
he's there to deliver some food. He sees the nun, and pretty immediately after that very horrific revelation, we go back to the Vatican.
Mm-hmm.
And anytime you go back to the Vatican in these movies, there's people that are going to try and fight this demon.
Yes.
Yeah. Whether they're successful or not, that's the goal.
Yep.
So then we go and we see Father Burke. Mm-hmm. He's talking in this beautiful set of the Vatican with a bunch of really high up bishops and priests and things like that.
Cardinals and stuff.
Cardinals, high up Roman Vatican
Vatican people.
Vatican people. And they're like, you need to go and investigate this
No
guy.
women high up there.
Oh, I know.
There's no high up women in the Catholic Church for some reason. But anyway.
What's up with that? So, and they say, but you need to take this lady with you.
Yeah. And it is a rule that if you're a demon exorcising, fighting priest, you need to have a cool hat.
Oh, it's so true.
And he has a cool hat.
You know, that's my favorite thing about exorcisms is they just look awesome. They're very clean. They're able to really just maintain a suit. Yeah. And they look like I want them to help me.
Right? Yeah. They're like, oh, they're gonna kill that demon. They're gonna send it back to hell.
Yeah, they are. So then he's like, okay, I'll take this lady. Why am I taking her with me? And they're like, oh, she knows the territory.
Yeah, she knows the territory.
And he assumes Romania?
Yeah. Okay, she's from Romania.
That's not the territory they're talking about.
Yeah.
But we find that out. So then it opens on the sweetest scene ever of this very young, sweet nun. And she is teaching a bunch of school kids. She's talking about the practicality of the Bible and how some things are in the Bible and some things aren't.
Yeah, because she's saying, dinosaurs were a thing, and then this other one is saying, no, our
Mother Superior
says dinosaurs aren't a thing.
Dinosaurs aren't a thing because they aren't in the Bible. And she's like, well, kangaroos aren't in the Bible either.
And do you believe in
kangaroos?
Clearly
they are alive.
Yes.
So we, right off the bat, we like her.
Yeah.
Right? She's practical. She's cool. She likes kids. And then Father Burke comes in and I love the snarkiness of the mother at the nunnery where she's like, oh, the Vatican has come for me. And she's like, yeah, I was surprised too.
Right. Yeah. I don't know why. It's because, you know the place where we're going, Romania. And she's like, wait a minute. I've never been to Romania. So what are they talking about? And it's like, well, I don't know, but they chose you. They must have a reason. So you're coming with.
Right. So we find out that she's not actually a nun. She is a nun in training, and she hasn't quite taken her vows yet. And she goes to Romania, and then this is really funny to me. So they go and they wake up Frenchie, who they've been told, oh, there's a contact over there.
Yeah, which Frenchie is the guy who found the nun hanging.
Found the nun, was delivering food, and we see him in his tidy whities.
Yes, the old
1950s
tidy whities.
And he's sleeping, and they knock on his door really loud, and he opens the door, and he immediately starts hitting on this lady.
Yeah, he goes on her hard. He's like
Sister Irene.
Yeah, and then when he learns she's a sister, then he's like more interested. So he's like, this is the lady for me.
Right? I could get with a nun if I wanted.
Yeah.
So, and the movie has some really great scenes that are really funny. Like they assume that he's got a truck. And he actually has this dinky little cart.
Right.
Yeah, lose their luggage.
Funny part.
It was really cute. And that sets up the stage for their relationship, which I think, serves them later on. They all care about each other. So they start going through the town and like the.
But during all this time, you see him carrying an axe.
Oh, yes.
Like, so survival tip: if you're going to a weird castle in Romania where you have found a nun that is, hung herself, that is hanging. He didn't know that she hung herself. Right? That is hanging, and the town thinks that this place is evil. Haunted. It is good practice to carry an axe.
Yes. So I would actually if I was either the priest or the nun, I would have asked a lot more questions about what I was walking into. And I don't know why they always end up, maybe the Vatican's really hurting for like exorcist priests, but I would have asked for a whole team. Right. I don't know why.
Well, at one point he says that they're a select few.
Yeah, but they hired this random lady.
But maybe the select few are, scattered around the planet. Fighting demons. You can't just get all of them to fight this one demon. What about the other demons? They'll wreak havoc. I
gotta tell you, if the entire Vatican took all of those limited people, let's say there's 6 or 7, and put them in one team, I bet you they would take care of the demons.
What if they all died?
Oh yeah.
Then you're shit out of luck. You have no, demon fighting priests.
That's true.
And then you have to train the non-believers, get them to join the church, get them to go through the ranks, and then hopefully they want to go into, demon fighting.
That's true. I feel like the Vatican's missing a really good opportunity of training maybe the lay novice, like Mr. Warren, to be exorcists.
Yeah, but he's not a priest.
No, that's what I'm saying.
He does it for profit. The American way.
That's true. I guess people got to make a living.
Yeah. He ain't
They're
got
not going to do it for free.
He ain't got no church to pay his meals, to give him a stipend to go and keep. No, he has a wife. He has a daughter. They need to make bank.
He's got a mother-in-law who lives with him.
Yeah.
They're busy people. And they write books. They do seminars.
Yeah. They're making the money.
All right. Well, then maybe this was all that they could spare.
Yeah.
So they go over there, and at some point, he's like, the horse won't go any further. This is it. We got to do the rest on foot.
The horse stops and is like, oh, yeah, the people say this place is evil, and the horse tends to agree. I'm like, another tip. If the people and a horse say this place is evil, maybe don't go. If I was Frenchie at this point, I would be, okay, I brought you here. Keep walking down that track right there. You will find the castle, the abbey is what's called, and I helped you. I am going back to my town.
You know what I love?
And taking my axe with me.
So that makes a lot of sense for like the regular person.
Yeah.
But what they did, it was really smart, is they established Frenchie's motivation right from the beginning.
Yeah. His motivation is to get some hoo-ha. And to get some nun hoo-ha.
Right?
That's what he wants.
He likes Sister Irene.
Yes.
And he wants to make sure that she likes him back.
Yeah. He wants to make sure to get her before she turns into a full nun. He's like, oh, this lady's not turning into a nun while I'm around.
Right? Not today.
No.
So, something that I know their goal is to figure out if the nunnery is still consecrated ground.
Mm-hmm. If it's still holy ground, right?
Yes, thank you. Still holy ground. But if the entire town says that it's haunted and the horses won't approach it, I would say that that's pretty strong
evidence. And a nun hung herself?
Right, a nun hung herself. I don't know why they don't have more history on the building or the nunnery or the people there or things like that. But it seems like they didn't really prepare that much. But anyway, so they get there and pretty immediately...
Well, they tried asking the people, and the people said, "Oh, that nobody could find any more information on the town about the castle."
Oh.
And then a little bit later, which it was the nun that hung herself.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Nun Victoria, I think. I think that was her name. So he says, I cut down her body and I put her in the cellar, in the root cellar, to make sure that she stayed preserved.
Yeah, where they preserve with
food.
The ice house, the ice box house, where they had ice and stuff.
How do they keep ice in an ice?
I don't know, but okay. So they're going to the place where he put the nun. So they go in.
This is so scary.
Yeah,
this was freaky.
It was freaky. So when they open the door, so the nun, first of all, she's frozen. So this place has to be really cold.
It is cold.
To freeze a dead body. Okay. But then she's just sitting, looking to the front.
Right.
And then Frenchie goes to the priest guy, I forget his name.
Father Burke.
So he goes to Father Burke and said, listen, Father Burke, let me tell you something, which is pretty important. When I laid this lady in here, I did not put her sitting down. She was lying down. So she wasn't sitting like she is now. So somebody saw that body and said, oh, she's lying down. She probably wants to sit. So let's, pose her. Or she just sat by herself.
That means she got up from the floor.
Mm-hmm. Frozen.
And sat. And you know what Father Burke says? Which is hilarious. I almost couldn't stop myself from laughing. He goes, sometimes bodies, they move.
Yeah, they just move themselves. They just sit up. They just sit up. I mean, I've never seen that in a dead body.
I've never seen that.
I've been to a lot of funerals, and in none of those funerals has a dead body just said, you know what, I'm gonna sit. Yeah, that would be a memorable funeral.
Yeah. So I felt that was a really weak explanation on his part.
Yeah, and then Frenchie doubles down and says, "Okay, but that was more than 2 weeks ago, so it could happen more than 2 weeks." And all he says is like, "Listen, you're not helping."
Right? He's like, oh, let's just ignore that
Yeah, you're
because
not
I
helping.
need to do more investigation.
So here we can go to another survival tip. If you go into a cellar where there's a dead nun that hung herself, and
She's moved.
she's sitting down, she's moved, and there's no explanation of how she moved, just leave. Just
Yes.
leave and you survive.
And you're like, place not holy.
Yeah, place not holy.
End of discussion.
Yeah, I am leaving. I mean, I guess we understand that Father Burke and Irene, they had a job to do.
They did. And that seems to be the motivation for most of the movie.
But Frenchie did his job. His job was to take them there.
No, baby. That wasn't his job.
What was
his
his
job
job?
Was to attempt
right, to get the hoo-ha.
To get nunnery hoo-ha.
Yeah, that I guess
that was his job.
That was his job.
That was his motivation in the whole movie.
Yes, okay. I guess. I mean, it's pretty hard to just this nun moved. I'm gonna stay here because I want this nun hoo-ha.
But remember too, he states pretty clearly in the beginning that he wanted to help the Romanian people. He was a very selfless man. And later on, I don't think he just goes back for them. I think he goes back because everybody was experiencing terrible things from what was happening. Yeah. So a
lot of the people in the town were dying.
Yeah.
Like kids were hanging themselves.
And the crops were dying, and I think he wanted to help everybody. Okay. He had really good motivations. But so then when the other explanation that they give for this root cellar is they're like, oh, there's another door here. And he says, yeah, that's how the nuns would get the food so that they wouldn't have to leave the castle. Mm-hmm. So they know, okay, there's other people here. Mm-hmm. They want to have a conversation with them before they leave, and they get into the initial abbey, and they meet Mother Superior.
Yeah. The scariest looking nun that you can. It's a nun. So this nun, she was just standing there. Well, she wasn't standing. She was sitting all in the darkness, like kind of like being all mystical. You can't see anything. She has a black veil, so you can't see none of her skin. You can't see her face. You can't see nothing. She just talks like an old raggedy lady.
Yes. And she tells them that the nuns take this vow of silence from sundown to sunup. So they're not going to be able to talk to any of them. She also makes this really cryptic remark when they say, well, you know what happened? We found one of your nuns who had hung herself. And she's like, oh, did you know? And I was like...
And it's weird. Every nun that looks at Irene, they know she hasn't taken the vows yet.
Yeah.
Which is, it's pretty... How do they know? I don't know. We see later why they know, but how do they know? We don't know. And then when Frenchie talks, I don't know, Frenchie, then the nun starts talking French to Frenchie. Maybe his accent, she knew he was French, and then she started speaking French.
That was a really interesting scene. It was a lot more telling once you'd seen the entire movie, because well, I won't give it everybody's seen it. Yeah. But at the end that she's dead, and maybe she has extra supernatural perception.
I don't know, but yes, so the dead people here in this movie, I can't really tell if they are undead, they're spirit dead, they are dead, because it seems like they are dead, or they are undead, but then they also disappear like they were spirits. It makes no sense. Like this nun in particular, Father Burke, he goes... At one point, she kind of like keels over like she died, and then he goes to touch her, and then he grabs her hand, but he keeps her hand. Her
hand becomes corporeal.
Yeah, corporeal, rotten hand, and then she disappears. So one of the two things. So it really hurt when he took her arm, and she just ran really, really fast. And while he was, shaking and fighting with the hand, she just bolted and disappeared. Right. And she did a Batman.
Because, old ladies are really, really fast.
Yeah. She did a Batman where, I'm looking at this. I'm Batman. I'm gone. Well. Or she was a spirit, but then her arm wasn't a spirit. I don't know. It's kind of weird. I didn't understand that.
The only thing the gripe that I have with this movie is that there's no continuity on how demons and the undead and spirits operate.
Yeah, they have no rules.
There's no rules.
They can touch you, but they're also spirits that they can disappear.
Right. They're helping you, but they're also not helping you.
Yeah.
There's, and the demon supposedly can shift into different forms, but also is alive in multiple sections of the castle at the same time.
Yeah. And without understanding the rules, how are you going to survive?
How would you survive? So the only way, if you know no rules, or if the entity that you're fighting has no rules, then the only thing you can do is attempt to react to every situation you're in as best you can.
Getting upset.
Getting upset. Or, I mean, I hate to fall back on this because it feels like a cop-out, but just leaving. If there's no rules that you can adhere to, and there's now 3/4 of the way through the movie, all of what I just said doesn't apply, because the only thing that you can do except for leave in that situation is just what you say, which is fight back and have a plan and make it work. So let's fast forward, or not fast forward. Let's go back to what we were talking about.
Yes.
So they meet this nun. She says, well, we take vows of silence from sundown to sunup, so you can't speak to us. And it's called cloistered, where they won't receive any questions. There's nothing outside of what they're doing that exists. Okay. So they decide to go stay at this little, I call it the sub castle, but the cute little castle that has the chapel in it. And this is really smart. So Father Burke's like, you should come back for us in a couple of days, Frenchie. And Frenchie's like, but don't you want me to stay?
No, I mean, in reality, he was like, listen, the Father Burke told them, listen, you need to go because you don't want to get caught out there during the night. And what he says is like, well, it's better than being here.
It's so
Which
true.
Which is true. It was better than being there.
It was better. And I mean, Frenchie made the good call of leaving. But I felt like he was like, you guys don't want to stay here.
Yeah, but when he left, he started to make wrong choices. One after another. Okay?
Frenchie started strong.
Yeah, but then he so sort of faltered there.
The whole time he's been carrying this axe.
Yeah, so the whole time, right? He's been carrying the axe.
And we were like ready.
In every scene, okay, he has an axe. He is ready. And all of a sudden, you see him, he's walking to his horse, but nighttime got him. Okay? So
nighttime got him.
Yeah, it got him. It's night. He's out there with a little, a little oil lamp looking through the darkness. And all of a sudden, he looks to the side, and there is a nun just standing in the distance. Now, listeners or viewers, if you're watching on YouTube, if you're in the forest at night and you saw a nun that hung herself, right? And you're leaving said place, if you see a nun in the distance, in the dark, where you can't see her face, just her semblance in the mist, in a misty night, you do not go after this nun. You walk the other way. You leave. You don't do anything. You don't ask her who she is. You don't say hello. You don't say, who are you? You don't try to touch her. You walk away. That is not your business. It is none of your business.
Right?
You just walk away and you live.
And you remember, there are two main rules to surviving horror movies. His rule and my rule. Mm-hmm. And you have to pick and choose which one it is.
Yeah.
This is not a anger trumps fear moment.
Yeah, because
this is a 7-minute ain't your business moment.
Yeah, this is you go to your little horse and you wait 7 minutes. In fact, in this case, you don't have to wait minutes.
There's no cell phones.
Yeah, and nobody's coming for you. They're going to stay. So you just go to your horse, but that is not what Frenchie decides to do.
No, I don't even know what he did with his axe. Maybe he left it at his
because carriage. At this point, he's like, hello, hello. And from this point on, he doesn't have an axe. Right. So we don't know if he lost it, if he dropped it, if he left it with them. We don't know what happened to the axe.
From an accessories standpoint, this is my favorite part of the whole movie about what happens, and you know what happens.
Yes. So first of all, he sees the nun, so he follows because the nun walks away in a really ominous way. So he decides, hey, who are you? I'm gonna follow you. So he's in the dark. He's following this nun, and then all of a sudden, from behind a tree, the nun walks in front of him, dragging a noose.
Right? Okay. I'm going to pause for just a second because this is a rule that I don't think enough people understand. When you are in a horror situation or a horror movie, don't let the goodness get you.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times characters let their goodness get them. He's a good guy. He wants to help. He sees a nun and he's like, oh, she's out at night. I should help her. Don't help her.
Yeah, don't help her.
Don't help
and
her.
especially if you see her walk from behind a tree with a noose.
Right.
Just dragging a noose.
What you going to do with that noose? That's not your business.
Knowing that, a nun hung herself.
Right.
So just put 2 and 2 together. Oh, this is the nun that hung herself. Which at this point, this is when it gets a little bit weird, which I thought it was a ghost.
Right.
I thought it was a ghost.
I thought it was a ghost as well.
So then he keeps following the nun, even though
the creepy graveyard.
A creepy graveyard, and then all of a sudden, which this was a jump scare, but it was a really good scare. He's looking around, and then the nun just falls right behind them and hanging.
Yeah.
Right? And then, oh shit, okay, it's a jump scare. He sees the nun, but all of a sudden, the nun falls on him.
There was a lot of screaming from my side of the watching couch.
Yeah. So the nun falls on him, so it's not a ghost. All of a sudden, from a ghost, she turns into an undead.
Corporeal
undead.
Demon.
Yeah, an undead demon with that grabs him, that you can see her face screaming, that's like she's gonna eat him.
Yeah.
So here, Frenchie, he did the right thing. What did he do?
He scrambled backwards.
Yeah.
He pulls a crucifix from the ground.
Yeah, from a graveyard.
A grave.
This is going to be mine. He just tugs it and he runs away. Yeah.
Like, this is my new friend.
Yeah. He saw a creature attacked him, and he did the right call. He really should have done it earlier, but now he decides to run away, and he lives.
Yes, and he lives. So that's it. He just goes back to the town.
He just goes back to the town and starts drinking.
As you do.
As you do.
So, meanwhile, in the same evening,
right?
Father Burke and Sister Irene are getting ready to go to bed. And Irene tells Father Burke that she used to have visions when she was a kid.
Yeah.
And he asked her, well, what kind of visions did you have? And she said all different kinds. But the main thing that she used to hear is Mary points the way.
Yeah, and that's what she remembered after the visions.
Right, Mary she remembered after the visions. So she goes to bed. I don't remember, Father Burke, Father Burke tells his backstory. And all priests have who do exorcisms, have some awful exorcisms that went bad.
Yeah, backstory, and they're the, I should have done better.
Should have done different.
Yeah,
I thought...
I made this person die or something like that.
Right. Right.
They have regret.
So his regret is this kid named Daniel who ended up dying from the exorcism. And he starts to see Daniel after Father Irene goes to bed. He starts to see her or him. So a
little 12-year-old boy.
This little 12-year-old boy. So he starts to wander after Daniel, like in this weird haze. So don't do that. Okay?
If you're sleep.
Right, go to sleep. Just that's not okay. And in the midst of trying to follow him, he goes into this horrific graveyard that they discussed earlier that has graves where it used to be that they were afraid that they would bury people that were still alive, which in fact people used to do a lot.
Yeah, they had the little bells.
So when they would wake up, they would have little bells in the coffin that they could ring through a little string, and it would ring the bell on the top so people would know, hey, I'm alive.
Yeah. So he catches up to the boy, and then the boy starts, a snake comes out of its mouth, and he gets startled. So Father Burke gets startled, but then he's running back, and he falls, which is a really cool scene. So he falls into a grave, an open casket, and once the camera zooms out, the casket closes, and then it zooms out again, and it's completely covered.
Yeah.
It is not newly covered like, oh, they just poured dirt on it. No, this place has been covered for a couple of years.
Yeah.
A couple of years. So the grass hasn't changed. It's all uniform. So this place has been covered for a while.
Yeah.
So this lets you know that it is a dangerous being.
And at this point, if you've never seen the movie before, like the first time that we watched it, I remember going, well, that character had a good run.
Yeah,
Like,
he had a good
that's
run.
it.
That's which again, this is another thing. Father Burke in this movie, he does nothing. He helps in nothing. He doesn't defeat no demon. He doesn't do anything worthwhile. Just read some books and a little bit of exposition, and that's it.
That's
He
true.
doesn't save no one. He doesn't fight no one. He doesn't. He just has blind luck.
Right? Irene and Frenchie really do all the hard lifting.
Yeah.
But the good thing about Father Burke is that he tries.
Yeah.
And he does
And he stays on
task.
to do his job.
He really does. So all the characters in this movie tend to make generally good decisions, like in terms of their mission. But if you really want to survive, you probably should have abandoned that mission like 5 scenes ago.
Yeah. And then when he gets buried, then okay, so now the demon, he got Father Burke. Now it's time to get Irene.
Yes.
So he's trying to eliminate them one
at a
by
time.
one. Yeah, he got rid of Frenchie. He got rid of Father Burke. Now it's Irene's turn.
Yes. So when he goes after Irene, who's still staying in this little tiny monastery place, she's asleep. He gives her these horrible visions, or something gives her horrible visions, and she wakes up in a panic. And when she wakes up, she starts to see a nun.
Yeah.
And she follows the nun into this chapel. And this scene is just so well done where they have...
It's a freaky scene.
It is a freaky scene where they have this shadow and it's moving across the wall. Now, I'm going to rely on anger trumps fear here because if this were me...
Yeah, here you can't really just run away.
You can't run away. Like if you would just be running into the night, and that's probably what it wants. So if you just got angry or you just moved and you just started to scream at it, I imagine it might like at least startle it from its mission of attempting to scare you.
Right.
And I really wish that they talked more about demons' motivations. Like I never understand, is this demon, I know it's trying to get a human soul. But we've seen demons that like throw up in your mouth. We've seen demons that just pick you up and like get their essence in you. Their juices. And that's how they get in you and then they can possess you. But in this one, it feels like the demon has a ton of opportunity.
Yeah, to possess them.
And it's like he just wants to terrorize them first.
He wants to play with them a little bit.
He likes to play with them, which if you notice that you're just being scared over and over again in different ways, yes, that could be like something demonic, but it's also a weakness on the demon's part. If they just want to freak you out for a while, it gives you some time to
kind of like get your bearings, figure out the rules,
and figure out a plan. So the demon like circles around as a shadow form, and there's a mirror right behind her. She turns around, the shadow goes into the mirror and suddenly is behind her.
Right? Yeah.
Grabs her, and then the mirror shatters. It's a cool scene.
Yeah, and then the cross with Christ without a head,
falls, almost hitting her, but not. I mean,
and this lady has a really strong constitution,
right?
Because she's not really all that freaked out at this point.
Right?
She's not screaming like crazy. She's not.
I was.
She's like, okay, let's investigate.
Yes, and you know what's really cool about her? So in any of us, I mean, maybe not you, but like what I would have done is I would have run screaming from the church, forgetting even who I was as a human being. And I would have just sprinted into the night.
I mean, if at this point I'm not mad, that means that when that happens, I'm going to shit my pants. And after said shitting of my pants, I would just run away. I would forget about Father Burke. I would forget about Frenchie. I would just keep going, grab a direction through the woods.
Grab a direction and go.
And just keep going. Don't look back and just run. That's what I would do.
Yeah. I mean, not a bad plan.
When the sun comes up, then I change my pants.
Then you change, not your plan, your pants.
Yeah, my pants.
Your pants. Your plan is still in place.
Yes.
Run. So this lady is like, I mean, that was weird. But where's Father Burke?
Yeah, so let's continue on our trek. To find Father Burke.
So she hears the bell.
Yeah, she goes outside, she hears the bell, and then she says, oh, Father Burke. I don't know how she made the connection that Father Burke was
In a grave?
in a grave.
I would have made the connection that there are, like, undead spirit demons everywhere.
Yeah, yeah.
But
But
no.
I'm guessing they explain a little bit, like, her visions. She has kind of like this power that
Yeah.
she can sense what's happening. So I guess she sensed it was him, and then
That's-
she ran.
That's true. They do a wonderful job of giving her a slowly evolving backstory.
Mm.
So you start to kind of respect her decisions more and more.
Yeah.
The only decisions of people that I don't really like is that of the demon, because it's hard for me to figure out his motivation or his powers.
Yeah.
But in terms of her, so at this point we know she has visions. We know that as a young child she experienced a lot of crazy stuff, so she's not really easily fazed. So she ends up going to the graveyard, and it makes sense to me that then the demon tries to freak her out even more by ringing all the bells, and she just closes her eyes and she does the coolest thing, and she's like, I know they're not real, or I know that that's not him, and I know he must be here.
Yeah, and I need to focus on which of these bells is Father Burke.
Is Father Burke, and she does it.
Yeah, but all she had to do really was read the gravestones because it had his name.
Night.
I guess it's a night. She can't really read it.
So the most miraculous feat in this entire movie is that she dug up the grave by herself.
Really fast.
Really fast. I don't know if you've ever dug a hole or moved dirt of any kind.
You get sweaty.
You get sweaty
really quickly.
It is
and
hard.
You get tired.
You get tired
really quickly.
Like, she starts to pound on the ground at first and talk to Father Burke, and I'm
where
like,
we live, it's sandy soil.
Oh
so
my
it's
God.
relatively easier than, I don't know, if you lived in Virginia, that
Right.
is rocky soil.
that it's just clay.
Yeah.
And I have no idea what the soil's like in Romania.
Yeah.
But I imagine it's not as sandy as here. And remember, the ice cellar, it was ice in there, and maybe it's because it's the ice cellar, but it's still cold enough underneath this castle for it to be a little bit foggy.
And frozen.
Which means that ground is solid.
Means it's cold.
It is cold. So I just can only imagine that, like, that's her superpower, is digging. She has
digging
a superpower
good hole.
digging.
Yeah.
How? Okay.
Fast.
Okay. You're stuck in a grave. All right. You've rung the little bell. I've been like, yeah, I'm here. Just calm down. Give me a second. Right?
Listen, don't scream. I'm right here.
Stop using the freaking lighter, man.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to get into that in a second. And I have to dig. Give me some tips. How should I dig quickly and, like...
I mean, you just gotta, you gotta use your quads. You can't, don't use your back, because imagine in the middle of just digging this hole, you slip a disc.
Oh no!
And then you
everybody's
you pinch a nerve
then.
in your back. Then you can't move. Then what the hell are you gonna do?
No one's gonna do anything.
Use
then
your legs.
Demon can take over all you want.
Yeah.
They can't move either.
Yeah.
Actually, that might be a good survival technique. Injure yourself.
Break your back.
Break your back.
Yeah. Do a deadlift.
Do a deadlift, but do it poorly.
Yeah. Do it poorly,
then,
so you break everything.
This one did that once.
Yeah.
So okay. That's actually not a bad plan.
What, break your back?
Well, no, paralyze yourself. It's better than death.
I mean,
not in this situation.
I don't know.
But like in the future, if we encounter something, if we encounter a situation that's so desperate that somebody wants our body, like...
I mean, I would, I don't know, cut one leg at the knee. That way it can't walk well.
Okay.
But if they can float, it's mute. They can float around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In your body.
You don't have a leg? I'm going to float.
Yeah, but if they need your body to leave a specific area, then wouldn't the demon also need your mobility? Can it float in human flesh, or can it only float in its demon form?
I have no idea. When we encounter a demon, we should ask him. Yeah. Or her, or it.
I have so many questions if I ever encounter a demon.
Yeah.
I would be like, listen, sit down with me. If we ever get to interview anyone,
yeah,
my dream guest, demon.
Yeah. Paimon, something like that.
No. Why would you mention that one?
I don't know.
That's the worst.
That's the
No,
one, you know. Listen.
Okay, this is from Hereditary,
Yeah.
and no. Okay, I'm gonna need to cleanse the entire house now.
I forget the name of this one because Father Burke and all his wisdom, all he does is just read books that exist in this nunnery.
I think it's Vaki,
Yeah.
Voki,
Caval.
Veka. It's like Kava.
I know that he
Venyo.
was the impure.
The unpure,
Yeah.
right? He was the defiler.
The defiler, the
He was-
impure. I mean, if I am a demon,
Right?
I want a cool ass name like that. I want to be
yes.
the defiler. I want to be the impure.
The something of snakes.
Yeah, the bringer of snakes, something like that. I mean, it
Yeah.
was pretty cool.
The Marquis of Snakes.
The Marquis of Snakes.
Oh my god, his name was awesome.
Yes.
So she digs this really cool, really quick. She saves Father Burke, and Father Burke looks down at the grave he just. Oh, wait a minute. No, we cannot stop. Okay, whoa.
Okay.
If you're trapped in a grave, don't turn a lighter on.
Right?
Right?
Because if there's a lot, if there is a lot of dirt, that means the oxygen is really limited. Right? So you're just
and what
burning
happens when
oxygen.
Don't you understand? Fire burns oxygen.
Yes.
And produces carbon monoxide.
Yes.
So you're killing yourself very quickly, even though you know, okay, somebody is also, if a demon has buried you, they could still be in the grave and there's nothing you can do about it, so you don't want to see it.
Yeah. But you know what? They were in the grave.
Yes, but then he got to see it because he turned on the
and
lighter.
it caressed his cheeks.
Oh,
it's like, come here, I wanna be your friend, and I wanna caress your cheeks.
That was so creepy. That was like, it was so bad. It was really, really, really scary.
Yeah. Anyway, it caresses his cheeks.
Caresses his cheeks.
She got
out of the grave. He looks down, and there are these really cool bound books. I mean, I want those books.
Yeah, I was like, these books.
One of them has a little eyeball in it.
These books, they have history.
Right? I mean, kudos to the prop department on this, and I mean, the ancient knowledge of these books. So, unlike that last movie. Anyway, I don't want to talk about that because, anyway, they were really cool. So, then he takes the books and he's like, I'm going to learn tons about the demon here.
That's when, which is weird. I thought that, to vanish demons, you needed to know their name. He had his name.
They didn't even touch on that.
Yeah, he had his name. So I think it was Caval or something like that. The unclean, the defiler, whatever. So shouldn't he just have, I say your name and you're banished?
This is what bothers me. They don't talk about rules. The only thing that
we're not all that versed in Catholic, demon hunting rules.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we should be. So another thing I read about this movie, there was the Catholic something magazine reviewed The Nun.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
And they wrote a review of the movie that said, ultimately, Mary does save you in this situation, and like she is the way, kind of a thing. And I wonder if I would really love to interview a real exorcism person, priest, exorcist.
Do they exist? I don't know. I don't follow Catholic dogma all that much to know if it's real or not.
They won't talk to us.
Yeah, we're nobody.
Right.
We're just godless heathens.
Right. But it's really interesting that he does a ton of research. The morning comes and the nuns say, okay, well, you can come and ask us questions, but obviously we're cloistered, so only Sister Irene can come in.
Yeah. So she goes in while Father Burke just stays talking to the mother nun. What's her name?
The Mother Superior.
The Mother Superior, yes.
Yes. And he says, I'm going to set up shop in this creepy little crypt, and I'm going to figure out what this demon is.
Yes.
They now know that there's a demon there, and that it's probably not holy, but they still want to ask some questions.
Yeah, they still want to know if this place still a holy place.
Right?
Yeah.
So she goes in to this nunnery, and she finds a bunch of nuns. One in particular is just praying and praying and praying.
Yeah.
And then the other one says, no, don't interrupt the praying because we must pray 24 hours in shifts to keep the demon at bay. And they explained to her the history
Yeah,
of what
the
actually
history.
happened. So there was some evil guy who created the castle who was attempting to bring forth a demon. But the Catholic Church back in the heyday came in with all of their soldiers and killed the guy and sealed the crypt that would open the demon to the world using the blood of Christ.
Mm-hmm. And a
The
little cool vial.
in a little, I mean, dang, that was really cool, Vial.
Yeah.
But the war, which
I mean,
this,
but
yeah,
cool, but impractical. If you have the blood of Christ, I would guess this is, a very rare thing to have,
yeah,
which you probably can't get more of. Why would you keep it in a glass vial?
it's true.
I would keep it in a stainless steel, hermetically sealed vial that it can drop, it can fall, it's not going to break. Not glass.
That's true. That would have been better if it was caged in metal at least
Yeah.
to
But it
keep
looked
it
cool.
protected. It did look, it was a beautiful, beautiful vial. So they sealed it, but then when the war came and it destroyed a lot of the castle, it broke open this seal.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the blood of Christ probably not so powerful if like a sledgehammer or
Like a
could
bomb,
like a
and not
bomb
only
could
any
like
bomb, just a rando bomb from World War II,
yeah,
from a plane, not even the atomic bomb. I mean, if it was an atom bomb, oh, okay, it's a
you could
powerful
understand
bomb,
that.
it killed a lot of people, but
Yeah.
no, just a
No.
rando bomb from a plane just opened this. But she said, the nun, while she's doing all these exposition, she says, the demon found the way. So maybe
Oh,
it wasn't the
interesting.
bomb, it was that the bomb helped in whatever way he wanted to, which in this point is where they tell you, not directly, but the nun that's helping her, I was like, isn't this the nun that hung herself, the one
It
that died?
looked
It
very
looked very
similar.
similar, but they all looked the same to me, so I wasn't all that it wasn't all that clear. The nun that was helping her was the nun that killed herself, because if it was the nun that killed herself, that means she's talking to a spirit, but this spirit touched her, so it's not a disembodied spirit. I don't know. It wasn't all that clear.
Yeah, the supernatural elements of this movie didn't make any sense.
Yeah, they're all over the place.
They're all over the place. So she decides to spend the night there, and they put her in the room of the nun who killed herself.
Mm-hmm.
During the night, she again has another vision. And I can't really remember because this evil nun appears in so many different scenes.
Right, and this scene, so she wakes up and there's a nun, a different nun, all wearing black, just standing there, and again she decides to ask it questions.
Which not necessarily unfair. I mean, I would ask the demon questions that was trying to kill me.
Okay.
But she doesn't really get the answers that we need. She definitely she's just tormented.
Okay.
She's just tormented most of the time. So she was trying to investigate what's happening with the nuns and if the demon was sort of part of the nunnery, but the one of the nuns tells her, "No, the demon looks like us and makes us think that it's one of us, so because it's a shapeshifter
Mm-hmm.
and it can hide amongst us."
Yes. But when she sees this, then all of a sudden the door, because she was locked into this room, the door opens and she decides to investigate.
Yes, which is a really really poor decision. I would just stay in that room. Like if they put you in there, they put you in there for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
So she investigates and she actually finds the that hallway.
Yeah, the creepy hallway that has all
the
the
crosses
crucifixes, and
and
that there's a door in
mist.
the end that says God stops at this point.
Yes. And she realizes she has the key.
Yeah, well, she realizes she has a key.
Yes.
But then the nun opens the door, and then she looks at the nun, and then the nun tries to suck her in.
So gravity shifts
Mm-hmm.
at this point, and it's like she's falling into the door from, and she's clinging to the floor as though it's the side of a wall. And she grabs her rosary as she's falling, and then it closes on the door so she doesn't fall in.
Mm-hmm.
And I would just leave. I mean, if it didn't get you right then, I mean, that's
Well,
when
she does, but at this point, the demon breaks through the door, and again, this demon has something with caressing cheeks. Starts to caress her
Does
face,
have a thing with cheeks.
and at this point, she starts freaking out and screaming and running.
Yes.
I would have shrieked out and screamed and ran a long time ago.
Yesterday.
Yeah, so she does it at this point.
Yes. So then she runs into the sanctuary or whatever, wherever.
Yeah, this other nun finds her and says, "Listen, shut up. Get all your things. Get in your gear. We're going to pray."
Right? And I'm like, what gear? We're being chased by a demon. I'm coming with you.
Yeah, nope. They decide to separate, but she gets her gear and she goes into the, I don't know,
the chapel.
The praying chapel place.
And in the chapel, there's a dead nun.
Right? And then there's a praying nun. And then she starts praying, and then a whole heap of nuns come in and start praying.
I loved how they came in.
Yeah.
So they all come
like
in
an army.
like an army, like soldiers.
Yeah, they're like,
ready.
Okay, we're soldiers. We're going
for God.
we're going to defeat this demon by praying.
And spoiler alert, they defeat nothing.
Yeah, they do nothing.
Literally nothing. I think the praying was useless.
Yes.
She starts getting, like, the nuns get splashed into the walls. She starts to get cut. And they kind of don't have continuity with the cut, like it didn't exist. You know, later on.
Yeah, you don't
ever see it again.
Yeah, you don't ever see it again. While this is happening, the priest, he is investigating, because he saw that Mother Superior nun, she disappeared, she's dead, she has her arm, so he's investigating. So while he's investigating, then the undead nun appears from the cellar and starts to kind of like going at him to attack him, and then Frenchie appears with his axe
now,
and
wait a
the
minute.
gun.
We have to rewind about Frenchie's motivation. So Frenchie is in the bar drinking with his cross, which was
with his
super
giant
cool.
cross.
With his giant cross. And it's so funny because the bartender looks at him like, I think you need another. Like watching Frenchie with his cross, like you've been through some demon shit. Yeah.
Like we've all been through some demon shit.
And then you realize that some members of the town have been experiencing horrible things. This little kid killed himself. And it's like, it's not good. So Frenchie decides at the end when the bartender says, well, you're going to find 2 more bodies when you go try and pick up that priest and that nun. And he's like, not on my watch. Yeah, I'm Frenchie.
Yeah, I'm Frenchie.
Save them all.
I'm going to save this lady before she turns into a nun.
Right. So when he bursts in to save Father, what's his name? Father Burke. When she bursts in to save Father Burke, he is like ready. And then they go in to save Irene.
Yes. And he cuts the disembodied, or he cuts
the undead nun's head. Yeah. Yeah. And like, it's really, I actually really like it from here. This movie picks up a lot for me. Yes. Because they start to go with your rule, only they take it, I think, a step in another direction. As opposed to just punching the nun in the face, which is what you really should do, and then leave. They decide to make a plan. Because while Frenchie's like, come on, let's go, we got to get out of here. They're like, no, we have to make sure that the evil is stopped.
Yeah, because at this point, they meet up with the nun that's in the chapel because the chapel was locked. And then she's like, oh, we've all been praying. Me and the nuns, we've been praying. And they look around and like, what are you talking about?
What nuns?
What nuns? There's no nuns in here. And she turns around and there's no one. It looks like nobody has been in this room for a couple of years.
Yes, for many years. And the dead nun that was there has been just mummified.
Yeah, she has run away.
Dead for a while.
But then she gets possessed. And then she attacks him.
Oh, that's right. She stabs Father
For
Burke.
A second here, this movie turns into Evil Dead.
It does. This is now, the 3rd or 4th time that we've seen somebody have a half-eaten flesh face who was trying to attack people. And somebody in the prop department or somebody who made these executive decisions said, I miss zombies.
Yes. And I want zombies in this movie. And then they have zombies.
I bet somebody in the writer's room, but that doesn't make sense. Shut up, Steve.
Yeah, shut up, Steve. You're fired.
You're right. You're fired.
so, so the nun gets, and he uses his little satchel of tools with the holy water and the cross, and he puts it against this undead demon, and it catches fire, and then Frenchie shoots it.
I gotta say, I love the classic. I have a cross, I have holy water, so I can defeat anything.
Yes.
Like, I wish that was used more.
Yeah.
So they realize that the blood of Christ is somewhere in the castle, and Irene says that she thinks she knows where it is. They go into this little hidden tomb, and there's a statue of Mary, and her finger is pointing with a little light, and he goes, "Mary points the way."
Yeah. Mary
points the way.
Even if you did not have those visions, you could tell, listen, this statue and this light is pointing right there. Maybe it is
Oh,
of
and there's a
importance.
keyhole.
And there's a keyhole, right?
Oh,
It's like,
interesting.
interesting.
We have a key.
This is the place that we need to be.
This was like idiots puzzle solving.
Right?
Puzzle solving 101.
This was Resident Evil and Silent Hill on easy mode.
It really was. And this is where the lock was a little disappointing, but I understand. So they open it up. They see the cool vial of the blood of Christ, and they decide to take it. And then he gives it to Irene, saying, like, the wife of God should
The
have
wife of
this.
Christ is the only one who's worthy enough to carry it.
Oh, he also did this ritual to make her a full nun.
Yeah, she decides, I want to be a full nun. And then first she's like, well, that sucks.
I know. He's like done all this work.
Yeah, all this work. That sucks. You're going to be a nun. Well, I guess that's cool, but it sucks at the same time.
Right? Poor Frenchie. But he still sticks with him.
Yeah, he still sticks with him.
So they decide they're going to go into the evil place, which they do.
Yeah.
Head down
and
there.
For some reason, I didn't quite catch it. They separate.
Yeah, that was
I
a
don't
little
understand
confusing.
that
It's
part.
like they looked down a hallway and suddenly everybody was in different spaces.
In different spaces, right?
Father Burke does almost nothing.
Yeah, almost nothing. There's a couple of cool scenes here where a bunch of nuns with no faces, just blackness and darkness in their face, start going after him. So he just throws a little oil on the floor and creates a cross and says some cool shit. And they can't walk on fire because they get burnt. It's not all that clear.
I did get the sense from this section of the movie that the nuns who had died, like if I'm trying to find a logic here, the nuns who had died maybe are also trapped by the fact that the demon is not free in the world yet, but free in this space to move around. And I wonder if their souls are trapped there.
And sometimes they help them, but sometimes not.
Yeah, well, I wonder if when they're not praying, if then the demon sort of can also take over their souls. Like,
interesting. Yeah, because they couldn't they it's one point that the nuns say that they can never stop praying.
They can never stop praying, and they did stop praying when they all got blasted. So I kind of can see that survival here is tough because you've already made a plan. You
have committed to destroying the creature.
The only
there is no form of you can't get scared.
Right.
You just have to stay on plan, committed to destroy the creature, and the only way you're gonna survive is to destroy it.
Right. And I mean, if you really are that extreme, like you're willing to die, you're willing to sacrifice your soul, because at this point, like he did all the research, he knows that if this creature gets into any of them, it's going to be loose in the world. The only option they would have, except for exterminate the creature,
is killing yourself.
So I would say, you said this right when it happened. I'd be like, why don't you drink a little bit of that, even just a drop of Christ's blood?
Yeah, when I saw the Christ's blood, that looks. But I did it for completely selfish reasons. I said, oh, that's interesting. I would drink a little drop of that. Maybe I get immortality. Maybe I'm immortal, because that would be cool. Isn't that what happened to the guy who stuck the spear in the side of Christ, that the blood spattered on his face, and then he was cursed
with immortality?
I mean, I would stab Christ to be immortal. I don't mind. I would get a little bit of that blood on me. Be immortal. That would be pretty cool.
If you really, well, I like it because if you're going to drink the Christ blood. Like, risk immortality,
Mm-hmm.
which you and I have both agreed in conversations past that we want immortality.
Yeah. Would be pretty good.
And not because we want it because everybody wants it. We want it because we understand that eventually we would get sick of life,
Mm-hmm.
and we're okay with that.
Yeah.
But cycles come back around.
Yeah.
So what I would say is, if you're really going to commit to that, you have to put it in your vein.
Oh, that way.
You can't just put it in your digestive system.
But how do you know what blood type Christ was?
Well,
Was he, what is it, the universal blood, O negative?
and what if he has hepatitis?
Oh, Christ hepatitis. That would be
Hepatitis J.
Hepatitis J. That would be that. I wouldn't want some old school Christ hepatitis.
Nobody wants hepatitis J.
Yeah, nobody wants none of that. But I would still just, drink a little bit just to be on the safe side.
I wouldn't drink a little bit. I would cut the inside of my cheek, and I would.
So you want all the Christ STDs?
Listen, I'm committed. All right, I'm committed to either sacrificing my soul and letting a demon into the world, or to destroying the demon and dying, or to becoming immortal, or all three.
Okay.
Either the demon's going to be immortal in my hepatitis J blood,
Mm-hmm.
or the demon will attempt to take me over and it won't be able to because I've got Christ blood in me.
Okay.
Or I'll kill the demon and I'll become immortal, or I'll die of hepatitis J later and I will have killed the demon.
Yeah.
Those are my only options.
Yeah, I guess you survived one and then to die later from another. Or be immortal.
C'est la vie.
Yeah. So then the lady goes into a room, which is a freaky scene where all the nuns are there, but they have sacks filled with blood on their faces, over their heads.
Didn't make any sense, but still very scary.
Yeah, it didn't make any sense, but it was really scary. Maybe they tore their faces off. That's why Father Berg saw them with just blackness and nothingness in their faces, and what she was watching was the actual bodies, because they don't attack anybody. Then when Frenchie gets there, he sees the nuns, and Irene gets to the pentagram on the floor, and
Irene is being taken over.
Yeah, she's being taken over. She's being possessed, and it's the demon possesses her. So it actually does what it wanted to do.
The demon possesses her, and Frenchie has a really great idea where he just throws Christ blood in her face.
Well, yeah, I mean, she gets close to him and gets his shotgun, and then she cocks the shotgun and is gonna just blast his face off. And while she's doing that, he sneakily just takes a little bit of blood and just wipes it on her face.
Yeah.
And that separates the demon, which, who would have thought? You want to do a quick exorcism, just a little bit of Christ blood.
A little bit of Christ blood.
You don't have to do any prayers, nothing.
Right?
Just,
you don't need to be a priest.
You don't need to be a priest.
Nothing.
Any Joe Schmo from the street, if he has a little Christ blood, he is the best exorcist ever. You just wipe a little bit, and you can physically see the separation of demon from person.
I wonder if using CRISPR, if we could duplicate Christ blood and use it as a demon deterrent.
Yeah, but how would you? Wouldn't you need a sample of Christ blood to be able to duplicate it?
Well, yeah, but they have it.
They don't have nothing. They don't have nothing. Anyways, moving along.
So she gets like blown backwards into another door, which goes into a river for some reason. That was where the seal was.
Yeah, it was a little bit weird about how the design of these rooms were. I didn't really understand.
Somebody got creative.
Yeah, somebody got really creative.
Creative.
Nobody's gonna ask questions. This is just to scare people. This is what's gonna happen.
This is a scary movie.
Yeah.
So how does one survive being drowned underwater?
Yeah, because she gets thrown there, and then the demon, which is not in her but still has form and can, and a physical body, starts to drown her. And then Father Burke finally got to this point.
He's finally ready to
He's
contribute.
ready, and he does nothing.
He gets hit, he gets knocked
out, and he has a stream in this movie of doing absolutely nothing. He is the useless priest that I've seen in a movie. He doesn't do good exorcism because he let the boy die. He is of all the priests that are exorcists, I'm pretty sure he's at the bottom. He's
Yeah.
the worst. He's not winning any awards. He's not being recommended, by the Vatican to be, second
Nope.
to the Pope. None of that. He sucks.
The only thing that Father Burke is good at is looking good in that hat.
Yeah, looking good in a hat. Yeah, and having tailored suits.
Yes.
Yes, that's all he's good
Yes.
at. So the demon nun is kind of like drowning her. Oh, I'm gonna drown you. So this lady, she is smart. While
She is
she's
smart.
being drowned, she just puts all the Christ blood and she sucks it up and just
In her mouth.
in her mouth, and she puts
And
it all
she
in her mouth.
waits.
And she waits, and she acts like she's dead. And when she picks her up, she spits all the blood into the
her
demon's
face.
Yeah, into her face, into her mouth. Probably got a little bit in her eye. It's kind of gross. But that makes the demon go back into the
seal.
into the sea
And the
to hell or
blood
wherever.
drips into the water. So as the water gets sucked into the seal, the blood ends up sealing closed the rift. And the demon, for the most part, is in there.
Yeah, so they won. They succeeded. And all of them, all three, lived.
Except.
Yes, this is a horror movie, and it made a lot of money, so they can't just,
Can't just be nothing.
they can be nothing. You got to make more. So you realize that when they're leaving, Frenchie, he kind of like scratches his neck, and you can see an upside down cross, the mark of the devil.
Yeah, and remember the demon grabbed Frenchie earlier, and that was when it went.
And then they show the scene where the demon, a snake, is kind of like going into the demon's. A snake is going into Frenchie's mouth from the demon.
Yes.
Which is interesting that at this point we jump forward into the first scene from The Conjuring, but the scene is reshot.
It's reshot a little bit.
It's reshot with Frenchie as the actor,
Yes.
with the actor of Frenchie in it.
And you see that Frenchie, whose name is Maurice, was the one that Lorraine was doing the exorcism on, and that's when she received a vision of Ed's death.
Yeah, from the nun and
the nun.
Vision. Yes.
So the other piece of this that's I think it's really important. If you guys have gone through all of this, I think you should try to bless everybody, Like, there might have been a way to make sure that nobody was possessed after this. I don't know how. But...
Not spitting all of Christ's blood. Leave a little bit.
Oh, that's true.
In your mouth, and then you just take it. Okay, a little bit for you, a little bit for you, a little bit for you.
That's true.
Christ's blood for everybody.
Yeah, that makes sense. You try to save just even a small bit.
Right?
Distribute it amongst all three of you for a time.
Yeah, and just keep a little bit, just in case. For the future, she's already a nun. She probably might need it.
That's true. So that might have been a good thing to try and keep. But overall, I think there's two ways that we can ask the question if we survived. The first way is, are we on a mission to defeat this evil? And the second one is, are we on a mission to survive?
Yes. So their mission initially was figure out if the ground is not sacred anymore.
Right.
Which they found out, and
very quickly.
Yeah, they were like, okay, it's not sacred. And then French was like, okay, now let's get out of here.
Yeah.
And then she's like, okay, no, now our mission shifted from making it safe again, like not letting this demon roam free. So at that point, your mission is, okay, now we got to destroy the thing that's here. That has killed all the nuns, and it's really powerful. So I don't know. I mean, I would have been caught in this situation, if I was Frenchie. There's no amount of nun hoo-ha that would compel me to risk my life so that I could get nun hoo-ha. None of it.
It's true. I would not participate in places that are filled with known demonic activity. I just don't. It's not safe. Just don't do it.
There you go. How about you? Would you have survived?
Yes. Would you have survived? Let us know. we would love to hear comments from you about tips and tricks for your survival. We would love to hear about movie suggestions that you might have, and any other comments that you have for us for the future.
Yes, and if you're watching on YouTube, be sure to like the video.
Yes, like, and be sure to subscribe. Remember, this month in October, we're doing one horror movie every day, building up to Halloween.
Yes, and tomorrow's movie is gonna be The Nun 2.
Nun 2. So stay tuned. Thank you so much for joining us. Be vigilant, be brave, be the last one standing.
Always.